Hello everyone, my name is Miss Ashley from Fibo Kids Art Academy, and welcome to another amazing art class. Today we are going to be learning about Lois Mailou Jones. Now Lois Mailou Jones was a famous American artist known for her African American paintings and illustrations. She was inspired by African art and traveled to 11 African countries to help inspire and stylize her future paintings, mostly masks and textiles. Her favorite medium was watercolor. Today, we will be drawing a mask inspired by Lois Mailou Jones while using African colors. For a list of supplies, be sure to check the description of this video. Let's go ahead and get started. So here we have our picture of our mask, and you'll be able to change up those eyes and mouth in a short bit. But let's go ahead and move on to our practice draw first. I want you to use a pencil, but I'll be using a Sharpie so you can see my lines. Make sure that your paper is vertical, which means up and down. And I actually want you to start with a small little dot almost to the bottom of your paper, because we're going to be drawing an upside down raindrop shape. So how we're going to do this is we're going to add another dot up above, making sure that they're pretty even. And we're actually going to curve out to the bottom dot. And we're going to do the same thing on the right side. Curve and bring it down to the dot at the bottom. All right, we do need to add kind of what looks like a headband for that mask. How we're going to do that is we're going to draw two slanted lines on each side. Then we're going to draw a big curve line to connect each side. All right, now we're going to go roughly like where the forehead of our mask is, and we're going to draw a curve out and another curve out. Now we do need to draw a straight line. This is going to be the bottom of our nose. And we're going to draw a curved line to connect. So draw that curved line to connect to the bottom on the left and the right. And that's actually it for our practice draw. We'll be adding those eyes and our mouth on our final draw. So let's go ahead. We're going to take out a brand new piece of paper. This is going to be for our final draw. And we're going to be drawing that same mask again. So let's go ahead. We're going to draw a small, tiny dot at the bottom, travel up and draw another dot. That way it helps us make sure that our mask is even on both sides. So I'm going to start on that top dot and draw a curve going out and curve to the bottom dot. And then we're going to do the same on the right side. Curve out to the bottom. Great job on drawing that upside down teardrop shape. If you do need to try that again, you can always pause the video. Let's go ahead and draw those two slanted lines. And then we'll draw that curved line to connect to the other side. All right, and now we're going to go ahead and draw the eyebrows and the nose for our mask. So I'm going to draw curve left and curve right. And then I'm going to draw a straight line. Then we're going to curve in all the way to the bottom of the nose on the left and the right. All right, before we do get on to those details for our mask, let's go ahead and add some lines in that background. So we're going to draw a straight up and down line on the top, and the bottom, left, and right. Now, if you're not at the part where I'm at, you can always go back and rewatch those steps. I am, however, going to be moving on to our eyes and mouth for our mask. Now, you actually have some options on what kind of eyes and mouth you want to draw for your mask. I'm just going to go ahead and scoot my mask over to this side because we'll go ahead and get started with the eyes first. So remember, you do need to draw two eyes, one on the left and the right side. You can either draw those eyes if you're pretty happy by drawing a rainbow, and I'll draw two. Remember, drawing two eyes. So you would make sure to draw those right here. And then you would draw those curves again. There's two rainbows. Remember, you would draw them right here. Make them pretty big. Don't make them too teeny tiny. Or you can also draw what kind of looks like football shapes by drawing that rainbow with a U-shaped curve underneath. And you would draw those right there. Now maybe you want those eyes to look maybe a little bit tired, or maybe they're sad. You would draw a U-shaped curve and another U-shaped curve. Another U-shaped curve underneath and underneath. So I'm going to be drawing these eyes here, but you can draw whatever kind of eyes that you would like. So I would take my picture. I'm going to draw the rainbow. And then my U-shaped curve. So it looks like two footballs. All right, if you need to take a moment to look at those eyes to decide what eyes you want to draw for your mask, you can go ahead and press pause on the video. I am, however, going to be moving on to the mouth next. So I'll scoot that over just so you can see that better. Now for the mouth, it's pretty similar to what we did before. If you want that happy mouth that's open, you would draw a curved line, another curved line. And you would draw that right here pretty big underneath that nose. Now maybe you want to draw a really sad mouth. You would draw a rainbow with a shorter rainbow. And you would draw that right there. Or maybe your mask is surprised. You would draw an oval. For my mask, I'm going to choose the happy one, but you can choose whatever shape that you would like. For that happy one, I'm going to draw a curve and another curve. All right. Now in those eyes, if you have that mouth, I'm going to add another line. And the eyes, curve, and curved. These are optional. You don't have to do this. So for example, if you have these eyes right here, you could leave this like that. I added that rainbow inside. Or you can even add another curve. So right now it kind of looks like a mouth, but those would be for the eyes. It's up to you if you want to add those lines or not for your mask. Remember, this is your mask, so you are getting creative with it. And again, with the mouth, you can add those lines. You can even add the curve and curve. Again, those are entirely up to you. You do not have to do those final steps. However, you do need to add a pattern to the headband right here. And you can add any pattern that you would like. Remember, a pattern is a repeated design. I'm going to be adding triangles to my pattern. But you can add circles, squares, stars. Go ahead, you're going to draw that repeated pattern. And that is your final step for your picture. If there's anything else that you feel that you need to add, you can go ahead and do so. However, we are going to be adding some more of those details and patterns with oil pastels. So make sure you don't add anything else around that mask. So when you are finished with your picture, it should look something like this. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put my pencil aside because I no longer need it, and I'm going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to outline all of those pencil lines. So take that moment to outline, making sure our cap is on the back. We're holding low and going slow. Take your time with this. There is no rush whatsoever. If I do finish before you, no worries. You can always press pause on your video. All right, so I've just finished that nose with the eyebrows and move on to the mouth. And I'm just very carefully going to go around my mask. All right. Don't forget those lines that go left and the right, top and bottom of the mask. All right, just about finished. All right, now don't forget your pattern as well on that headband. And this line right here. And when you're done, go ahead and put your Sharpie aside. You can take out your eraser and erase any of those pencil lines that you may see on your paper. Make sure too to connect those lines. You can see my nose right there is not connected. It's a good opportunity to take that moment to connect those lines. And erase your pencil lines. Again, if you're still outlining, you can always press pause on the video if I do move ahead and start to color. Now it's important that you listen to this next step because I want you to take a look at your markers because we're actually only using certain colors for our picture. So make sure you're not using pinks or purples or blues because we are going to be using some of those colors that are seen on the African flag. Which are, you can take out green and also light green, red, yellow, and black. Those are the only colors that we're going to be using today. So I'm just going to leave those colors right there for you to see. Now the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to be coloring our nose. Excuse me. You can use whatever of these colors that you would like. So for example, I really like the light green, but you can always use the darker green instead. I'm going to take my Mr. Sketch marker. I'm going to outline the eyebrows and nose. And we're going to fill that in. First outline. And then fill it in. Again, you can use any of these colors, but just make sure you're not using blues or purples or pinks. All right. Make sure you're getting all of those white spots. All right. For the next part, we're going to be doing the tops of the eyes. I'm going to choose red for this one, but you can choose any color of these that you would like. I'm only going to be coloring just the top of the eyes. Now, if you have different eyes than I do, let me go back and show you what they would look like. So if you have eyes like this, you could color either of these. Let me just show you what they would look like. So you can take any color, have it here or there. Or you could even color at the bottom of that eye or the top like I did. Or you could even color the top here for that eye or the bottom. Because let me show you what it's going to look like when we add black. So after you color that portion of the eye like I did, so remember I colored the tops right here, which is this here, you're going to take your black and you're going to color in the rest of the eyes. So here's my eyes right here. I'm just going to outline and fill that in. So let me go ahead and fill in those parts of the eyes so you know what they look like. All right, so you can fill like this. Remember, mine was filled in right here. But you could also fill in only the top parts right here. Or just the bottom here for the sad eyes. That is up to you. There are all sorts of different options for those eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and finish coloring this eye. I'll put those right there so you can still look if you still haven't decided how you're going to color those eyes. But I'm just going to go ahead and finish filling in this eye right here. And again, you can make sure you're using black, but for any of the other color, you can choose any color that you would like. Now we're going to be doing the same thing for the mouth. I want you to choose any of these colors, which I'm going to choose yellow, but again, you can choose any of those colors. And I'm going to just fill in the top of my mouth. And when you're finished coloring in that part of the mouth, you can then fill in the bottom with black. Make sure that you are using black. All right. So if you're still thinking about what color you're going to use or how you're going to color it, let me just go ahead and show you what the mouth is. If you want the top open, and you can have this part filled in. So this is opposite of what I have on my mask right now. Or you can have that sad mouth with the top teeth. But you could also have it in reverse from what I did right on here. So you could have the top black and the bottom yellow. And for this one, I suggest that you probably fill in that big area black and fill in the top any color you would like. So whatever you did do for your mouth, go ahead and take that moment to choose your color and then fill it in. Remember, you do need to use one color and black. So it can't be green and light green or red and green. Just make sure that you do have some sort of color with black. So when you're done, it should look something similar to what we have right here. Now, again, everybody's eyes and mouths are going to be different as well as different colors. Just remember you are still using these colors right here. Now you can go ahead and move on to your headband, and you can color it using any of these colors if you would like. So maybe if you don't want to use yellow, you don't have to use yellow. You could just stick with all of those colors. Or maybe you only want to use light green and dark green. That is totally up to you as well. I'm just going to go ahead and start coloring my headband. I'm just going to start with yellow first. And I'm just going to make sure that I'm skipping each of those triangles. Again, you can color your pattern however you would like. Just remember, please stick with those colors. So I like to outline with my cap on the back and fill it in. So we'll just take that moment to fill in our headband. If you do need to press pause for any reason, maybe you're still filling in that mouth or eyes, you can go ahead and press pause on the video. But again, we outline with our cap on the back and fill it in. Fill that in. Now I haven't used my other green yet, so I'm going to be using that one next. And I'm going to be doing the same thing by skipping each one. So I'll start here. Outlining and filling in. Outline and fill it in. Outline and fill it in. Make sure you are getting all of those white spots when you fill it in. And last but not least, I'm going to use black to fill in the rest. Remember, make sure your cap is on the back. You're outlining and filling it in. Outline and fill it in. Don't forget, especially if you are using black, to make sure to get those white spots. This will be our final marker step in our picture. So when you are done with your markers, go ahead and put them aside because we're going to be taking out our chalk pastels next. And make sure those markers have their caps on, put them away, and we're going to take out our chalk pastels. We're actually going to only be using one chalk pastel, and that's going to be for our mask. Now, just like with the markers, we do need to stick with those same colors that we used for our picture. So remember, we're using either red, yellow, green, or black. Now, I suggest not using black just because it would be hard to see those eyes a little bit. So I recommend either choosing green or yellow green or yellow or red. I'm going to choose the yellow. And what you're going to do is you're going to pinch and pull on your mask. Try your best to avoid going over that nose and the eyes. All right. And when you're done, you'll take your two fingers and you'll blend that chalk pastel onto the mask. Remember, we're only filling in the mask, so please don't fill in that background. Get as close as you can to those eyes. All right, keep blending. And there we go. If you have a lot of that extra dust, go ahead and just tap it on your table. And if you do have some that maybe got on those eyes or the mouth, you can take a pink eraser and just very carefully erase right on top of it. Just don't press too hard. Because now we're going to go ahead and put our chalk pastels away, and we're going to take out our oil pastels. So let me just tap off some of that dust. I'm going to put my chalk pastels away and take out our oil pastels. Now for our oil pastels, we're going to be adding patterns to our background. And remember, we're only using black, red, green, and yellow for that background. You can also use tan if you want to. I'll probably be using tan for my background. But go ahead and choose one of those colors, and we're going to be adding a pattern to the top left section of our background. I'm going to start with triangles by drawing in those triangles and filling them in. You can do any kind of pattern that you would like. Just remember, you are sticking to one color in each box. Now remember, we're not filling in that entire area. We're just adding a pattern. Any pattern that you would like. So I'm just going to keep adding that pattern. So there is my first box. I'm going to choose red for the next one. And I'm just going to draw some slanted lines. But remember, you can choose any pattern that you want in that next box. Just make sure that you are skipping over your mask. You're not drawing on top of it. All right, I'm going to choose black for the next one, and I'm just going to do some zigzags. You can get as close as you can. And again, remember, you're not filling in those boxes, you're just adding that pattern. I'm going to try and go a little bit closer in some of these. All right, I'm just about done with this pattern. All right, almost done. All right, and the final one, I'm actually going to be using my tan gold right here, but if you do want to use yellow, you can. I'm just going to add some swirls to my picture. But you can choose any pattern that you would like. All right. I may go back and add some more stripes to that top right corner. But go ahead, let's take that moment to really work on our patterns in our background, because the next material we're going to be using is watercolors. We have to make sure that we are finished with our oil pastels completely. All right. Let me just go back to my red. I'm going to add a few more stripes just to make this a little bit more defined. And there we go. All right, that was our last oil pastel step. So let's just go ahead and put away our oil pastels. And we're going to be taking out our watercolors. Now remember, like I've said the past few times, we need to make sure that we're using those African colors. So we're going to be coloring the top two boxes with the same color. Now I recommend not using black for that background, just because black is a really strong color and it does tend to get into a lot of areas. So I prefer to either use green or red, or yellow. Now, since my mask is yellow, I think I'm gonna not do yellow, but again, this is totally optional, up to you. I'm gonna go for green in the top one. And I'm just gonna use those long strokes to paint the top squares. All right, and same down here. Make sure you're only painting that square. You can use red or yellow or green. If you need to go over, add some more paint, you can go ahead and do so. All right, and for the bottom, you can use those same colors, either red, yellow, or green. I'm gonna go for red this time. And I am gonna paint the bottom squares. I'm getting as close as I can to my mask, making sure that I don't paint on top of it. Also with that markers, you want to be careful because if you do add water to those markers, they will bleed, so be extra careful. I'm just going to spread that paint around as close as I can to my mask. All right, long strokes. And so as you can see, those oil pastel and watercolors don't mix, so you should still be able to see your pattern. Really make sure that you spread your colors around for your watercolors. If you need to go back and touch up on any areas, you can go ahead and do so. But that was our final step with our picture. So if you are done, leave it on your table for it to dry because it is still wet, but be sure that you do clean up your area, clean out your bucket, take out that wet wipe and clean your hands and clean your table, but leave your picture there for it to dry a little bit because it is still wet. And this is our final step for our picture. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you had a lot of fun learning about Lois Mailou Jones and her African American paintings and illustrations. Please post your pictures online. We would love to see them at our Fibo Village page on Facebook, and hopefully we will see you next time. Bye!